So I'm Nancy Pewter. I am the founder of Seacoast Seniors, and my background is 42 years as a real estate broker. So you might wonder why I'm doing this. I started Seacoast Seniors 5 years ago in 2019, about a year before the pandemic. And I've got to tell you, most of the realtors in town think I've lost my mind or I'm losing it. Like, that's what they kind of like to say to people that have been in the business or are getting to be my age. And so they all think I'm crazy. And like, why would I want to work with a bunch of older adults? Well, I'm not going to bore you with my story because most of you have heard it before, but I started Seacoast Seniors out of my frustration with all the situations I ran into yearly where something bad had happened in the family and nobody was prepared, ever. And I don't mean most of the time, I mean ever. And I just thought that was horrific. And we're living in a world where nobody is addressing the fact that everybody's living longer. It's not unusual nowadays to live to be 100 years old. And so nobody wants to think about dying. I mean, we all have different beliefs about where we're going after we die, and that's all fine. But so there's some peace there for some people, but it's so weird. It's like nobody wants to live in fear of dying, right? Because it's going to happen no matter what. So in order to function daily, I think what people do is they just go into this weird state of denial. And so you hear me say this almost every single seminar. I'm going to die in my sleep. They're going to carry me out in a box. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay independent. That means I'm going to tell everybody what I want, what I want and what I won't do. And that's their plan. Well, the problem is that nobody thinks about what about when they fall when they're 76 or 75 or even younger, 65 years old. When we fall after this age, even if we're staying in shape, it's still pretty dicey. It's very easy to break your hip. We have a guy in our office, fairly young and in great shape, but close to my age, and he just broke his hip. So once you break your hip, all kinds of other things can happen. And statistics show that for women, 37% of women who break their hip die in the first year. And that number is like 40% for men. So it's pretty crazy. And I mean, you hear things like she broke her hip, went to the hospital, she got pneumonia, and she died. And I'm like, what does one have to do with the other? Well, I'm not a medical expert, but trust me, that's what I hear all the time. So it's very important to take this portion of your life from where you are now, feeling pretty good for the most part, self-sufficient, to examine and make plans for the journey of where you are now to when you possibly live to be 100 years old. And you have to plan for every aspect of that journey. And we are here to make sure that we bring you all of the information that you need through our empowerment series. And hopefully you will take some of the advice and start to put your aging plan together. Starting in January, we're going to be very focused on creating an aging plan because staying independent means having a plan. So we are going, in January, I'm going to ask you all to bring 3-ring binders. We'll have some extras here if you forget yours, and we're going to start building a plan for you. Does that sound good? Okay. So today we are going to talk about how to master your smartphone, how to organize and send photos from your phone, how to tap into social media, how to order groceries from Instacart, how to get a ride from Uber, and several other things. And then we're going to open it up for a Q&A a longer Q&A session than we usually have. We're going to have two sessions, one on the basics of technology and one on social media. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our education partners, beginning with, I'm going to sit over here because they're going to take a seat. Matt Stone with Stone IT Solutions. Matt started his technology career 10 years ago before starting Stone IT Solutions in 2016. Stone IT Solutions' mission is to work with people and technology to empower businesses to do what they do best. They work with the slogan, Technology Simplified. A native of the Central Coast, Matt lives in Paso Robles. Boy, it's hard to do this after you've danced. Matt lives in Paso Robles with his wife and two daughters, aged 3 and 4, and is expecting his first son in January. Woo! He loves to fix things, play music, volunteer at his church and in the community, and most of all, to spend time with his wife and girls. Thank you, Matt, for coming today. And then now I would like to introduce you to Michael Stokely. Michael is also with Stone IT Solutions, and Michael started his IT career in 2022 at Stone IT and was thrown into a fast-paced environment providing technical support to a diverse set of businesses and individuals. Learning quickly, he manages the majority of the company's technical support requests, and with his lighthearted nature is a customer favorite. Michael loves to learn and has goals to obtain industry certifications that broaden his knowledge and ability to help others make technology simple. And then, last but not least, I think you all know who Shannon is. Shannon Bowdy is the president and founder of Slow Happy Homes at Keller Williams Realty in Pismo Beach. Born and raised in New Orleans, am I saying that right? In New Orleans, Shannon brings a fun and lively element to every environment she participates in. And as you will see today, known by her peers as the social media queen, we are delighted to have Shannon share her tips on how to connect with your friends and family on social media while staying safe. Okay? So welcome and thank you so much for coming. Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks so much for having us. We're happy to be here. And we're glad you're all here. So we have a few things we're going to talk about, going over smartphone use and spotting and stopping scams and a few other things. And we're going to start with some security stuff, spotting and stopping scams from Michael.
Hello. Hi. So technology nowadays, we all hate it. A lot of scams are starting to happen with email, phone, and pop-up ads. We're going to tackle them one at a time, and I'll explain what each one is. So email phishing is the art of someone that is nefarious sending you guys an email that looks like it's safe, asking for personal information or credit card information or anything like that that can tie back to you. The best way to spot these scams is by the sender. So sometimes it'll say from Charter or from Verizon or PG&E, depending on who they're sending as. But one second. You can actually check the sender address by clicking on the from person. So if it says from Charter, you can click on that and you can see who the address is. And if it's an address that you're not very familiar with or you're unsure of, you can always check your last bill and call the number on that address or email that address too. One second.
It's a no on the slide advance.
Yeah, no on the slide advance. That's all good. The next common scam we see are phone scams. So maybe some of you have had this happen to you where someone calls over the weekend or at a weird hour of time and they say, hey, something bad is about to happen if you don't give us this information. We're trying to help you. Recently, we've had a few clients of ours get attacked this way, saying someone from QuickBooks called them and said, your QuickBooks is about to crash. Please give us your credit card information and we'll fix this, was essentially what they're trying to do. Some ways to spot phone scams: if it's an unfamiliar phone number you don't know, you've never called, you can always hang up. You're more than free to hang up on them and check a bill that has the correct number and call that number. Most phone scams, when you call the number that they called in on back, will not have a phone tree. So it will not say, hello, this is, if it was Spectrum, this is Spectrum Internet, press 1 for this option, press 2 for this option. So mostly it's someone that will answer directly. That's a big red flag. Usually you'll hit a phone tree system nowadays where it'll give you options to direct you to a certain department like billing and others. And then the last one is pop-up ads. How many of you are on a computer regularly? A few of you. Some of you might have encountered where you go to a certain website and you get an image like this saying your PC is compromised. Click on this link or call this phone number to get help. That is the last thing you want to do. That is the scam itself. Once you start clicking, it gets downhill from there. We had another client of ours start clicking on their computer, and someone got remote access to it, so they were controlling his computer across the internet and stealing his data. So the last thing you want to do on these is call the phone number or click on any links. They are not reputable. Usually Microsoft will not offer support to fix your own computer. The best thing you can do is to not touch any of it and ask for help. But if you're confident, you can also try to close it yourself. Usually we have to kill these browser windows from the back end because they are very tricky to get around.
The most important thing on those is to not click. And the good news about them is even though they look scary and it looks like somebody has access to your computer, they do not. Most of the time when something like this comes up, they are what's called phishing. They are trying to get you to do something. And the most important thing is to not do what they're trying to get you to do. And so, and just to revisit something that Michael said, if you get a call or an email or a pop-up like this that says to contact somebody, if it's a company that you don't work with, you should ignore that. If you already don't do business with that company or you don't get a service from them, it's really safe to just ignore that communication. If it is a company you work with, like PG&E or Netflix, like was in this email that might come back up in a moment, something saying to reset your password to Gmail. If they're trying to get you to contact them through that email or on that phone call, and you already work with that company, you should have a bill from them, or you can look up their phone number. Make sure that you're contacting a phone number that you know is that company's actual phone number, not the one that they're providing in an email or replying to the email.
Can you give us an overview of smartphones? Do you have that on your?
I do.
Okay,
Let me get you to some
patient.
smartphone stuff. The slides change, but they do so slowly.
That's okay. How many in the room have a smartphone? So almost everyone. Okay. What are the benefits while we're waiting of having a smartphone versus just a different type of phone?
Yeah, there are a few things. Where I start on what piece of technology somebody wants to use is that it's important to use something that's comfortable to you. You can learn to be comfortable with something new, but a lot of the time when we're working, especially with our business clients, people will have a preference for something. That preference could be iPhone versus an Android phone, or a smartphone versus an older phone, a flip phone, and it's important to be comfortable with it. So to a point, I will try to direct people towards something that we think is helpful to them. But at the end of the day, I really like to work with people on something they're comfortable with. And so if you're comfortable with a smartphone, or if you would like to be, there are so many things that you can use on it that are helpful. And knowing where to go and what to do can help it be less scary. So one of the things that I think is most wonderful about them is being able to be connected with people more often who are not right next to you. Video calls are wonderful. And I know I FaceTime with my mom a lot for her to see the grandkids more often. We live about an hour apart. And so my kids love it. She loves it. And we always go back and forth on, hey, how do I flip my camera around so that I can show you something? And so I have at the end of this a short how to flip your camera around video on FaceTime that we can go over. But let's take one step back on the video calls and clear up what it is. So there are some terms that people commonly use for video calls that have become synonymous with a video call that are instead a brand. And the most common one is FaceTime. So people will say, I'm going to FaceTime you. The confusion I see with it is when people don't have iPhones. FaceTime is an Apple product. And so when everybody has an iPhone, FaceTime is very easy to use between those people. I imagine some of you have people who you communicate with who don't have iPhones. Have you run into this? Yes. So there are other applications on different platforms that are used for video calling. So on Android phones, which are made by Google, the program Google Duo is very similar to FaceTime. The good thing about Duo is that it works on everything. You can use it on a computer, and you can use it on iPhones, and people with iPhones and Android phones can video call with each other on the Google Duo app.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You can go to the App Store. So if you're on an iPhone and you go to the App Store on your iPhone, you can download the Google Duo app. And the same is for Zoom as well. I know everybody knows Zoom, right? So Zoom, you're probably going to run into more with businesses. And the medical industry likes to use Zoom quite a bit. There are a few others they use, but for remote visits, have any of you run into doing remote doctor visits on Zoom?
Who in here struggles with Zoom? Anybody? With the doctor's office, the telehealth is becoming, one of our clients is a young doctor, and her fiance got a job out of town, so she stayed with the medical organization that she's with, but they're just having her do telehealth. And she was able to follow him, which is nice. So, but Zoom is something that, if most of you are familiar with it, I got one hand that would like some help with Zoom. When we have our breakout session, maybe we can show you how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. Smartphones, right?
Yes.
Other smartphone
That
things.
seems to be the one question I get all the time is they have a smartphone and they don't know what to do with it, or they go into one app, they're fooling around in it, and then the phone starts ringing. How do I answer my phone now? I have people go, oh, I'm calling you back because I couldn't figure out how to answer because they were trying to explore what to do. So just trying to even get back to where they originally started is great. Flipping the pictures around. And the other question that I hear a lot of is, how do I send my pictures to my friends and family? So you get the camera down, you take the pictures, but then what do you do? So we're going to deal with the absolute basics today. This is not an advanced technology. Because, and one of the reasons I wanted to start there is because, I did well in school in my younger years, so it's not like I'm not intelligent, but things that I don't understand, it takes me longer than most people to get it. And once I get it, I'm fine. But usually the teachers and the students are already going on to something more advanced. And I'm still like, wait, I'm still trying to figure out how to do this. And they don't want to talk to me because it's like, okay, you dummy. And then I feel like a dummy. But so I know there's got to be at least one other person in this room that feels that way, that things are moving too fast. And so I'd really like to just keep it as basic as possible today. And hopefully everybody today is going to leave knowing something that they didn't know when they came before, that they can take out into the world tomorrow.
Yeah. I think smartphones got a really bad name. They're not smart. They're dumb. You guys are smart.
Thank you.
So they're a tool like any other, and you can learn to use the tool. And I think stopping thinking of them as smart or too complicated is really helpful because it makes them less intimidating. A great thing about phones is they're pretty hard to mess up. If you are comfortable pushing buttons and trying things, you probably won't get yourself in too much trouble. At least not some that somebody can't help you out of. But at the very basic level, I think it's really helpful to know the names of some things so that when you're talking to people about using your phone, the things that they're saying to you aren't foreign terms. And so on any phone, whatever brand, when you first pick up your phone, it's going to be at its lock screen. And so the lock screen is when the screen's on, but you can't do anything yet. You have to put in your PIN or it has to see your face to open. And when you're using your phone and you push the power button on the side or the top, that's going to take you to the lock screen. And so that's where the screen doesn't do something. If you're going to put it in your pocket or in your purse, you'd want it to be locked. And so
Otherwise,
that's
you're
that
butt
screen.
dialing everybody.
Yeah.
I hate that expression, but yeah, it's when you call someone and you didn't mean to.
That's from the Nokia phones
Really?
before the flip phone.
Wow.
You'd push the buttons in your pocket.
How many of you in here use your facial to unlock your phone? Okay, good. You know, I don't use it for everything, but that is one thing that I've got to use my face to open it so I don't have to push in a PIN number every single time. So
Who thinks it's creepy?
it is creepy.
Yeah.
It's all creepy. Yeah,
When
I agree.
when my first daughter was about a year old, her face would unlock my wife's phone. Yeah. Reliably. Yeah.
Well, we can talk all day long about how technology has got an upside, but it also has a dark side. But it's not going away, people. So we need to at least jump in and be involved so that we don't isolate ourselves for the next several years.
Yeah.
And so if you want to engage, and we all want to socially engage on some level, then you have to learn some of these things. And it's a wonderful feeling when you learn just the tiniest little thing. I'm still like that.
Yeah,
I learned
for sure.
one small thing. It just made my day.
I'm still
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. We learn new stuff all the time and
But
it feels
once you
great.
once you get going with it and learn a few things, you start to notice a little bit of a rhythm. There's a little bit of a rhythm that kicks in, and as opposed to the world being pretty illogical right now, technology is actually pretty logical. So once you get going with it, you'd be surprised. You're going to want to start trying other things.
Yeah. So we got our lock screen and then we unlock with our face or our PIN or none. It's possible to have none. And the screen you're going to wind up at is called the home screen. And the home screen is where you have all of your apps on your phone. So your text messaging app, your phone app for making phone calls, the only part of it that's actually a phone, and your photos and your camera and all of those other apps. That is the home screen once your phone is unlocked.
What's an app?
So apps are programs that different companies produce to do different things. And so every one of the icons on that main home screen is an app. So if you want to make a phone call, the app that is a phone icon, that is an app. And text messaging is a separate app, and the camera is a separate app. All of those little squares are different apps, and they all do different things.
Isn't app short for application?
It is, yes. So it's a computer program that's been written to do a task.
So just think of it as a bunch of little boxes on your table. And so you're going to grab that box to send a text message. So you're going to click on it. It's just that simple.
And then once you're in one of those apps, you might want to do something else. And so to get back to your home screen, there used to be, and I miss them, there used to be a physical button on every phone at the bottom to get back to the home screen. And a lot of the phone manufacturers have, in favor of a larger screen, gotten rid of the home button. And I've had a lot of people tell me that it's more difficult to get to their home screen without the button. But it is pretty consistent across phones how you get back to the home screen. And it is to, from the bottom of the screen, slide up. So you put your finger at the bottom of the screen, and there's usually a line or a dot down there that represents what used to be the physical button, and you slide up, and that will take you back to the home screen. So if you're on a phone call and you want to go to another app, you can slide up from the bottom of the screen, or if you have a physical button at the bottom, push the home button, and that'll take you back to the home screen. Or if you are sending a text message, you can go back to the home screen the same way. Anywhere you are on the phone, you're always going to be able to get back to that home screen the same way by pushing the home button. Pardon? Nope. By going back to the app. So if you're in a text message and somebody calls you and you answer that call, when you're done with that call, if you go back to the text messaging app, it'll pick up right where you left off. Even though they go off of the screen, they're still there. They're running in the background. Yeah.
We're going to show you these things, Carol, as we go around the
Yeah.
room, and you have your specific, or even just, what do you mean when you say do this to get back to the home
Yeah.
screen? What the heck does that mean? So, those are the things we're going to show you. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of getting used to. I know in the beginning, I'm like, I'm going like that and nothing's happening. What do you mean go like? And then
Yeah.
somebody would come over to me, some young, good-looking guy at Verizon. He go, you just go, blah, 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 blah." And I go, what did you just do? And so then I go to do it, and they get tired of talking to me. They want to go talk to another customer. So these are the things that we're going to answer for you today. So there are no stupid questions, okay?
Yeah, and let me say about that, if somebody is impatient showing you something, don't feel like it's because of you. If they're impatient, that's their fault. I think that everybody should be patient when they're showing somebody else something they don't know, especially with technology, and most especially with people who never dreamed that the technology that's here today would exist. So if somebody's impatient with you showing you that kind of stuff, don't feel bad. It's not your fault. It's theirs. We talked about video calling.
What about the
doctor
different
visits.
platforms, having a PC or a Mac computer?
Yeah, for sure. Who
Just explain the difference.
thinks Macs are wonderful and PCs are awful? That Mac computers are great and PCs are terrible.
Do most of you have regular laptops, personal computers and you use Windows? Okay. All right, then that's enough. But I do have somebody in here who sent me a question about her husband has a PC and she has a Mac, and it's frustrating because they're kind of at odds with each other. So she was wondering whether she should get herself a new Mac, give him her Mac, but he had a lot of, who is
Yeah.
it that asked this question? They don't want to own up to it.
It's
So-
a divisive subject, which one you use.
Yeah.
There's nobody who likes
Yeah.
them both.
But the question was, would she be able to transfer his
Yeah.
Excel worksheets over to the Mac? And the answer to that is yes. There's a program called Numbers, and it might be a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not insurmountable.
Yeah. I think it goes back to something I said before too, which is using something that you're comfortable with. I have in the past convinced somebody to switch from a Mac to a PC, and they were never happy because I had to convince them. And so if somebody really truly wants to stay on that platform and they're comfortable with it, I think it's important for them to do that. They are very different. On some levels they're the same, and overall, and from most people's perspective, from the feedback I get from people, Apple and Microsoft computers are very different. The good thing, though, is that a lot of the programs that are on one are able to be put on another. So for that specific situation with the Excel documents being different on the Windows PC and on the Mac, you can buy Microsoft Office products, Excel, for a Mac. And they'll be completely the same on both. Yeah.
I'm a big believer in open source, gets rid of all of that problem.
Like OpenOffice.
Open Office is one example, but open source for everything. I use open source mail. It's all cross-platform.
Yeah. Open source is software that, instead of being developed by a company for sale, is developed by a community of people. And so there will be a nonprofit organization that creates the core of it, and the people who want to use it are able to modify it. They're able to download the code for it and modify it, and the community builds it together. They can be more difficult to use, oftentimes because the larger companies that are building the software have billions of dollars to spend on it. But for people who are comfortable in them, they're fantastic because they're always free.
We're going to give you a couple of resources before we leave today. So, what else do you have on your agenda? Some of the things I have here is, for instance, ordering your groceries. Who here would like some help on how to order a few bags of groceries without having to call somebody to bring them over? Instacart. I love Instacart. And, yeah, you pay for it, but hey, it's totally worth it. So Instacart is a wonderful way to go. So we have 2 or 3 people that would like to know a little bit about Instacart. Would you like to touch on that?
Yeah, for sure. I find that the first place people get stuck on those kinds of apps is getting an account set up. Does that sound familiar? Every time you get a new app, the first thing they want is your email address and for you to create a password, and you have to remember it. Good thing on apps, for the most part, once you're signed in, you don't have to do that again, or at least not very often. And so if you haven't used Instacart or a similar app, when you first open the app, it's going to want your email address. And it's going to want you to create a password. And that's going to create an account for you. And once you're signed in there, it should stay signed in. And for the most part, the way it flows in Instacart is that you pick the store that you want to buy groceries from, and then it's going to give you all of the things that you can buy from the store. It will probably give them to you in a list. If you are trying to find something out of the thousands of things at the store, and this really applies to any app, if you want to search for something, they will probably have a magnifying glass somewhere near the top or bottom. And the magnifying glass is a symbol that usually means search. So if you want to search for something by name in the Instacart app, you can click on that magnifying glass or a box that says search, and you can type in what you're looking for.
Right. That's good. And also another one is Uber.
Yeah.
You don't have to be helpless. Nowadays, you can phone an Uber, and they'll come to your door, pick you up, and drop you off where you need to be. Everybody should have an Uber app on their phone just in case. I mean, you can download it anytime, of course. All you do is go to the App Store, which is another app, and find it in there and download it. But if you have it ahead of time, it's really handy to use. And there's some safety precautions that you can take, of course, to make sure it's not a bad guy picking you up. And it's really very simple and pretty safe overall. There's also hearing assistance devices.
At the location where you want to be picked up, I did it out of a moving train, trying to get picked up and slow. Well, wherever I made the call, I had an Uber waiting for me because that's where I
Sometimes-
thought I was going to be there.
Yeah,
I said, no, I'm moving. So just make sure you understand.
She's saying if you're on a moving train like she was and you're requesting an Uber, the Uber driver kept trying to follow the train. And so, yeah, you would want to put in a location. Yeah. There's pros and cons to everything. And, sometimes we learn by, who was I just talking to Linda, I think, Linda Neal, about sometimes you just have to be the bug on the windshield and be okay with that. And I tell my clients, you want me because I've made every single mistake there is to make. And that is the best way to learn and remember something. So,
Something
yeah.
that's really important when you're on the Uber app or on the Instacart app and a lot of other apps that are service-based for your location, when you first open them, they usually ask you if they are allowed to use your location. And I know a lot of people, me included, want to click no. I can assure you that Instacart and Uber don't really care where you are. But if you want them to pick you up where you are, or you want them to show you the grocery stores in your area, you will want to share your location. And that's what's going to keep you from having to search every time for which store you want. I have ordered on apps before from the wrong store, like one in a different town.
Okay, does everybody have a password generator? Okay, do you have a place where you safely store your passwords? Okay, let's talk about password generators. And because the importance, this is one of the most important things that we're going to share with you today.
Yeah. So in my company, we manage a couple thousand passwords for us internally and for our clients, and we couldn't possibly remember all of them. And so if you feel like, I can't remember all of these passwords, they want one with 8 characters and uppercase and lowercase and special characters, don't feel bad for not remembering them. I can't remember them at all. So there are programs that are meant to help you keep track of all of your passwords and keep from having the same password everywhere. So before I tell you about the applications specifically, I want to go over a few of the problems that that password managers solve. One of them is it makes it easier to not reuse the same password everywhere. I want to use the same password everywhere. Everybody wants to. And one of the common questions I get about that is why not do it? And the best answer is something that we've run into a handful of times, which is somebody gets an email that says, hey, reset your password for Netflix. Reset your password for your Gmail. And it's not a real email. It's a phishing scam. And it has you put in your old password, which is your current password, and your new password. And then that password's used everywhere, on your bank, on your Facebook account, on all of your other accounts. And so now that that person has harvested your password, they have it, they put it into a computer program that tries it everywhere. And now they have your bank account and all of your other accounts and your credit card accounts and your phone account. And they wreak havoc. People have had their bank accounts emptied this way. And so not having the same password everywhere would prevent that from happening. They would only have one account. It's kind of like having the same key for everything, and if you lost the key. So the password manager makes it to where you only have to remember one password, which is the master key that unlocks the password manager. And the password manager saves all of the other passwords. And what's great about them is that you don't even have to type in the password. They all have an app, another app for your phone and for your computer that stores the passwords and will automatically fill them on your phone and on your computer. So whatever device you're using, your same passwords are there stored, and you only have to remember that one master password.
And remember, if you lose your phone, you don't have to worry about somebody accessing that because your phone is locked. So after a few minutes, your phone has locked. So someone will need to have your PIN number to open it up, or it's going to have to be in front of your face. So
Yeah.
that's the only way. So it's way safer than not having one. And so just use the one on your phone for now. As you get more techie, you might find other ones that you want to use that you might think are better, but start using a password protector now, please. And usually when you put in a password, either while you're on that app or when you return to that app, it's going to ask you if you want them to store your password.
Mm-hmm.
And so an easy way to get that password protector started is to just say yes. And then after a while, when you're opening your different apps, it's going to say, would you like to use your stored password? or something to that effect. You could say yes, it'll automatically fill it in for you. So it's a game changer, people.
Yeah,
What
I have
else?
3 different password managers that if you want to write down some names of them to look at later. And the first one is completely free, and it's called Bitwarden.
How do you
It's
spell that?
Bitwarden. It's the
Bitwarden.
Bitwarden.
Like
The
prison,
warden
like a
for your
prison cell.
passwords. Yeah, keeping them. One
Yeah.
word. Yeah. So Bitwarden is completely free.
Bitwarden. Warden, like a prison cell, like you're putting them, you're locking them up.
Yeah.
So Bitwarden.
So Bitwarden is completely free, and you can store unlimited passwords in it. Another one that's very common and was one of the first ones to be prominent is LastPass, LastPass. It used to be completely free. They have a free option and they have some paid options, and more than likely the free option would be more than sufficient. And Michael's favorite is 1Password. 1Password is very easy to use. It's not free, but it's cheap. I think it's $2 a month. But I think it's the easiest to use. We have some clients who use it, and it's Michael's favorite.
I'm going to tell my
ONE,
husband about
one
that one.
password. Yeah, the number 1Password.
The number one.
ONE password.
Oh,
It is the number? No, it's
okay.
the number.
So the numeral 1 password. Numeral.
Number.
The number.
Numeral.
Sorry.
We're arguing up here, so it's no wonder you're confused. So numeral, Roman numeral. Okay, so numeral 1 password. Good.
Yeah, if you're searching for things, it's usually not case sensitive. And I could touch on that. There are a few general rules for what's case sensitive, and I get asked a lot of times, is such and such case sensitive? So a few things that never are. Email addresses are not case sensitive. So if you see an email, whether they're capital letters or not, the email system doesn't care if they're capitalized or not. For the most part, usernames are the same, but passwords are always case sensitive. With the password manager? With the password manager, when you create an account, you'll set the password and save it in the password manager, and that account's password will stay the same. So it's not going to replace it every time.
No, they're always the
They're
same
gonna be
unless you click on the option to
Each one for
change
each
it.
account will be the same. You don't have to make them up. You can if you want. Every password manager I know of has a password generator built into it. And because you're using a password manager, it means you don't have to remember them. And so it will generate random passwords and automatically fill them in for you when you're creating accounts. Oh, gotcha.
So how close are we to Q&A, because
As close
the
as you want
animals
to
are
be.
getting restless.
Yeah. Well, one question I'd like to answer that I get a lot, though. Who wonders why people want your information? Yeah. Yeah, I get a lot. People ask me, nobody wants my data. Who wants my data? And good answer to that is that they don't want your data. They want information to sell. The people who are trying to hack computers and phones and steal people's data, they don't personally want it. What they do with it is they get a whole bunch of different people's data and they package it and they sell it to people on the internet who want to utilize it. And so it clears up some of the mystery of why, knowing that, to me, for sure.
Are we ready for Q&A?
Q&A. Who's got questions?
We are going to open it up for questions and answers. I am going to repeat each question so everyone can hear. And then after we close the Q&A session with Matt and Michael, then we are going to turn it over to Shannon. Shannon's going to talk about social media, and then we'll have more questions for Shannon. Sound good? Okay, first question, Carol.
Okay, in regard to banks and insurance companies, first of all, I don't have a smartphone, so I'm using a desktop computer. I have never wanted to bank online and do security chaining online, but aren't they there anyway? Because the bank and security company, and so my question would be, am I doing anything worthwhile? Am I not using them? Can people get into it anyway, even though I don't bank?
So Carol's wondering, is it worth it to do your banking online if people can get into it anyway? Bottom line, you know, it's kind of like I watch a lot of murder mysteries. And it's kind of like if somebody wants to kill you, they're going to find you and they're going to kill you. You know, that's kind of the bottom line. You know, you can try to be as safe as you want. Same with technology. You know, all you can do is make yourself as safe as possible. You can decide to just abstain and not be involved at all. And then, of course, there's the whole subject of Big Brother watching. But I'm here to tell you, Big Brother is already watching. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to stop him from seeing what you're doing in your living room. So, but or you know, you can choose to disengage, but in the end, you're not hurting anybody. Nobody cares what you think. If you feel you're making a statement, you need to kind of get in. If you want to have a fulfilling life over the next 20 or 30 years, you want to start engaging a little bit on what's going on in the world today.
Banking would be my first choice. So my question is, do outside sources have access to, say, bank and investment accounts, even though I have not activated them personally?
So she wants to know if outside sources will have access to the bank account.
Outside sources wouldn't. Banks have very, very tight security, and technology security is best done in layers, and the bank has a lot of layers of security. And the weakest link in any technology security is people. And so your information with the bank is already connected to the internet. You're correct in thinking that for sure. If you have an online bank account and you want to make sure that your information is still secure, the best thing you can do is have a secure password that's not reused somewhere else. And so Password Manager is going to be very helpful for that. If you have a secure password on your bank account and it's not a shared password with any other applications, it's only used for that bank account, and you don't give your information to somebody unintentionally, your bank information is just as secure as it already is without you accessing it there. Having that access is just going to make it easier for you to work with it.
We had a question from the gentleman in the back right corner. And yeah, I shut you down. I'm sorry, that's you. Do you have a question or did you get it answered?
I was told that you can make a reservation on Lyft or one of those for an early morning departure to the airport, a reservation?
Yes, his question is, can you make an appointment on Lyft or Uber for an early morning appointment to get to the airport? That is a good question.
Yeah, when you are scheduling a pickup on Lyft or Uber, and this is similar in other apps like with Instacart too, you can choose to have something happen right now, or you could say, and it's going to offer you these options when you are requesting the ride. You can say, I want this ride at this location at this time. So if you're going to the airport tomorrow morning, you could get on the Uber or Lyft app now, and you could schedule that pickup for 6 a.m. tomorrow to take you to the airport.
Next question, Mike.
Yeah, are you saying, Matt, that I have to have, say if I got 40 apps on my phone, I have to have 40 different passwords?
So Mike is saying I have like 40 different apps on my phone. Do I need to have 40 different passwords?
Not all of those apps require a password, I would imagine. So a lot of the core apps on your phone don't. So the phone app, the text messaging app, the camera app, those aren't going to be behind a password. They're just locked when your phone is locked. But I imagine you're talking about things like Facebook or Uber, in your banks. It sounds daunting to have 40 different passwords, but yes, I am saying that.
It's easy when you have your password protector
Yes.
because it'll just pop up and say, do you want to use your stored
Mm-hmm.
password? It's so much easier than it sounds. Right here.
Your computer or phone will say, shall I remember this password?
Yeah.
Is that a good idea to use that? Because a lot of times I'll click on my banks and stuff and the password's in there, so I just have to hit enter.
Okay,
Yeah.
he's saying, should I use the one that's automatically on my smartphone? I would say if you've never used one, yes,
Mm-hmm.
start using that one.
It isn't it depends answer. If you use an iPhone and a Mac and you use the auto save and autofill, it's going to work on your phone and your computer seamlessly because they control that environment on both devices. So if that's you, then yes. If you're working on a PC, say you have a PC and an iPhone like I do, when that pops up and asks if you want to save that password, that is your web browser, which is the application that accesses the internet. So Safari, Google Chrome, Firefox, those are web browsers, or Microsoft Edge, they're web browsers. And each one of them has a built-in password manager. If you're working on your computer in Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge and it saves it, when you're then on an app on your phone, it's not going to have it. So it's still saved, yes. And you can go look at them. It just only works on that computer. So if you want to log into your banking app on your smartphone later, it's not going to have it. You'll have to go get that password from your computer.
Because I'm so lazy,
Yeah.
I don't always remember. I have to have spreadsheets
Yeah.
of passwords and,
Yeah, if that works for you and you're primarily accessing that stuff on your computer, that's a really simple way to start with a password manager that's free.
So we have time for one more question to Matt and Michael. However, they will be here afterwards. We're going to do breakout sessions, so you'll have an answer. If you don't get your question answered, you'll be able to get it during the breakout session or even afterwards. So
Yeah, we'll come sit
don't-
down with you and we can look
don't
at stuff on
worry.
your phone.
yeah, we just want to make sure we're covering enough, and but we're not going to leave you helpless. Here's the one last question right over here.
Question and a comment. I think there's some confusion going around as to where passwords are actually stored. Most of the password managers, based on question, at least give you the option to switch.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Which means the phone does not have those
Okay.
passwords.
Right.
After-
They're accessible anywhere. But it's through an encrypted link, and that's the other thing that hasn't been talked about much. If you look on your web browser, it says HTTPS. That is an
So what is the question?
Well, the question is, I believe Bitwarden charges for cloud access. Is that true?
I don't think Bitwarden does. They may have a paid offering, especially if you want to share with multiple people the same passwords. But I'm pretty sure that Bitwarden has a free offering that is, I know it's free unlimited passwords. They very likely have some features that are locked behind a payment. They are cloud. Yeah, and you're correct. Having those passwords in the cloud is what makes them so they're accessible everywhere. And the cloud is just computers somewhere else.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You guys have been fantastic, and they're not going anywhere, so don't
Nope,
panic.
we're here.
Right now, we're going to turn it over to our very own Shannon Bowdy.
Hi, everybody.
As she's going to talk to you a little bit about social media. Let's get a feel for who uses social media. Matt and Michael are not available after this conference, but we're going to give you other contact information of where you can go to get help. Okay, so we're never going to leave you helpless. And you can always call or text me, and I can give you what you need. So, how many of you in the room use social media? How many might want to try it if they could figure it out? Okay, so I would say about half, maybe a third to a half. So we don't need to go too much into social media, but let's let Shannon talk to you about some of the fun that you can have
Sure.
with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, being on social media can be fun, and it keeps you in touch with your family members that you don't always
Up
talk
here.
that you always don't always talk to, and so there's it can be fun. It also can be dangerous. So you should be careful when things happen. Like if somebody that you already know you're friends with asks to be your friend on social media, if you look at their friend list and maybe it's like 2 or 3 people or maybe 10, and you know they know more people than that, it's probably a scam. It's probably not really the right person. So those are things to be careful for. How many people get sick of seeing maybe something that they find offensive that somebody keeps on posting and you don't want to see much more of that anymore, but you still want to be friends with them. So I have one person that I'm friends with, and him and I don't agree politically on which side or whatever, but he's got great kitty cats and puppy dogs and flowers, and I love seeing all the kitty cats, puppy dogs, and flowers, but I don't want to see what his political views are. I can show you how to filter out all that out of your social media so you're not seeing all the stuff you don't want to see anymore. It's a very simple little thing that you do, and you can filter it out where you see the happy things instead of the things you don't want to see. And it's my mother's 83 years old. She TikToks, Instagrams, and Facebooks, and she loves it. She was doing TikTok before I did TikTok, so it can be good and also can be bad. So is there any particular questions anyone or what should we do? Do you have any questions for me? Okay. And then we were also talking about if we're not just social, but can I talk about the tracking features like whoever has iPhones, there's a simple thing on your iPhone called Track My iPhone, which is great because I always know where my mom is, and so it's I don't know if I can show you how to use that on your phone if you like. And I know one time she had an automobile accident, and a person called me and told me she was on Highway 1 somewhere, and it was a dark, rainy night, and I couldn't find her or anything like that. And so she was talking to the policeman, so I knew she was okay, but I didn't know where she was, and I was freaking out. And so I pulled up the Find My iPhone app. I'm like, oh, there she is in the creek on the corner of Halcyon and Highway 1. And so
That's a really good tool.
it is a very good tool, yes. You do have to have your cell phone with you, yes. Yes, yes. And another good tool is having one of these smart watches as well, because even when if I leave the home without my phone, I have this and I can still get phone calls on it, and I can still be tracked on it and everything. Also, it helps call emergency services if you need it, and which is a really good thing. It's a very easy touch of the button. If you fall or something like that, you can't get to your phone. Another good thing is those devices that you have in your living room, like Alexa or Echo or things like that. My mom's always worried, what if she falls? And I always say, Mom, if you fall, just say, Echo, call Shannon's phone. And so she could do that easily. So she just, she'll be sitting on her couch and say, Echo, call Shannon's phone, just for the heck of it, because she wants to talk. So those are some fun things with technology that can be your friend and help you out and everything. So.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most wonderful things that's come out over the last several years is the Ring doorbell. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So they are inexpensive. You can have them installed very cheaply, and you can see who's at your front door. How many people know, please don't answer your front door if you live alone? I just wouldn't do it, frankly.
Well, with the Ring doorbells too, you could talk to that person through the doorbell without them seeing you or they're not face to face, and vet them to find out who they are and everything.
And there's so many other assistive devices and so much assistive technology that'll benefit you as you get older. How many remember the commercial, "Help me, I've fallen down and I can't get up"? Well, there's jewelry now. I mean, a lot of times people have these this phobia about wearing something that signals to everybody, hey, I'm an old person, so I have to wear this. How many people won't wear a hearing aid even because they don't want people to be that way? Well, now they have that kind of technology available in beautiful jewelry. And so those are some things to look into. Things are changing constantly. Alexis or Echo is amazing. the Ring doorbell. There's lighting apps. You know, as we're getting older, we want to make sure when we get up in the middle of the night, even though we know our house and we can get from the bed to the bathroom or the kitchen, in the semi-darkness, it only takes one time to trip and fall. And so to have automatic lighting, just ambient lighting, you know, as you enter certain rooms is something that you might want to look in. And they're very easy to install, and we have people that could help you with that too. There is a company called Cyber Seniors, and it's a technology company that is designed to help older adults. And you can reach Cyber Seniors. So their email address is info@cyber, CYBER, seniors, plural, .org. info@cyberseniors.org. You could also call them at area code 844-217-3057. And their goal is to help as many seniors as they can with technology. So I'm really proud of all of you for coming here today because it is a very important subject. We have, is this about social media, David?
It's about AI, their recommendations relative to AI, which is advanced.
I'm sorry. Oh, are you talking about cyber seniors?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about online apps that assist in writing, like AI type of.
Artificial intelligence. Who wants to comment on AI? Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so I use ChatGPT, which is one of the forerunners in AI. I use it all the time. I use it every day for writing and for proofreading stuff that I've written, and a whole host of other things. The easiest way to think of something like ChatGPT or other AI engines is that you can talk to it like you talk to a person. You can say anything to it. The more information you give it, the more you explain, the more of an informed answer it's going to give you. And one of the most important things to remember about the answers that it gives you is it will be confidently wrong. It will tell you something that it says this is true and it's not. And they have a warning at the bottom. It says to check the information that it gives you. So talk to it about anything and take its answers with a grain of salt. Double check and reference the information that it gives you somewhere else. But it can be very, very useful.
Yeah, it's just kind of like going on the internet. You know, you can't believe everything you read on the internet. Well, ChatGPT is a wonderful product, but you have to take it for what it is. And you know, sometimes they give you good information, a good way to word something. It can be a lot of fun, but do not just copy and paste and take its word. It's nothing to rely on. It's really more like something to spark your attention or to spark your mind to continue going. Carol.
On that Cyber Seniors, do they install as well, or is it just for information?
Cyberseniors.org, do they install also? No, they don't. However, we might be able to connect you with people who can, depending on what it is that you have. Okay, we're going to do a breakout session now. And who would like some help with their smartphone? Okay, throughout. Okay. All right. And who would like some help with social media?
I can help with smartphone stuff.
Shannon can help with everything. Who needs help accessing Wi-Fi? Like when you go somewhere and you want to know how to get on the Wi-Fi? Okay. Lene.
What about like settings and brightness and large fonts and things like that?
Who would like to know how to increase the size of the font, the lettering on your phone? Okay. So we're going to be walking around, Matt, Michael, me, and Shannon. And we're just going to be walking around and just going to flag us. And we're going to stop and we're going to quickly show you what you need to do. And if we can't help you, we'll grab one of the other people to help you. Okay? Yes.
The person that wants to know about this, can I join in on that?
The Zoom? Sure. So we've got a couple of people that want to know more about Zoom. So Zoom is over here. The gentleman in the gray shirt, I believe, Mr. Allen. You want to know a little bit more about Zoom? She wants to piggyback on you, not physically. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have the breakout session, but I think what we'll do right now is I'll go ahead and thank our guests for coming today because I'm not going to be bringing them back up to the front of the room. And I'd also like to thank my sponsors who generously, through their support, help us continue to do these seminars regularly and not have to charge you anything. I would like to remind you that my day job is as a realtor. That's pretty much the only way I ever get paid. And so if you like me and you appreciate what we do, I would the sponsor money only goes so far. A lot of times, most of this is out of my own pocket. And so if you are even thinking about selling your home, I'd really appreciate if you'd give us the opportunity to come and speak with you. We are senior home coaches. I like to tell people, don't just hire a realtor to sell your house. They are generalists. We are specifically trained to help you with everything that you could possibly need as you transition into possibly a more manageable environment or relocate. So that would mean the world to us, or of course, if you know anyone else. So I really appreciate that. I need to bring that up more often because some months are longer than the budget is accommodating when it comes to these seminars. So our sponsors are amazing. We love them. We're always looking for more sponsors and ambassadors for you to get the word out, please, because most of our attendees are here because of word of mouth. So we're going to break for the whatever we're doing, the breakout sessions. The breakout sessions, I want to thank all of you for coming. Please don't run off. We want to talk to you individually and get to know you a little bit better. I want to remind you that staying independent is having a plan, okay? When you come to these seminars, we are showing you how to take charge of your future today. So it's important that you keep coming and know that those of you whose plan is to stay in your home forever, be carried out in a box, that's not a plan, okay? I know you think that's cute and that's your plan, but there's a way more to it. So keep coming back, take charge of your future today, and we'll help you as much as we can. Thank you.